haunting melody of the cursed music box. Ravenswood. In the heart of a small, secluded town nestled among ancient woods stood an old, dilapidated mansion that bore witness to centuries of forgotten tales. The whispers of the townsfolk spoke of its haunted history, a history shrouded in darkness and despair. The small town, known as Ravenswood, held secrets that lingered within its very soil, secrets that stretched back generations. Legend had it that Ravenswood was founded upon an ancient burial ground, where the restless spirits of the past lay undisturbed until the town's inception. Centuries ago, a coven of witches had made Ravenswood their home. They practiced dark arts in the dense, eerie woods that surrounded the town. These witches were rumored to have forged pacts with malevolent entities, their chants resonating through the night, infusing the very land with an ominous energy. As the town flourished, an insidious darkness began to seep through its foundations. Unexplained occurrences plagued Ravenswood, disappearances of townsfolk, inexplicable illnesses, and eerie apparitions haunting the living. Fear took root, casting a long shadow over the once thriving community. Rumors whispered of a curse cast upon Ravenswood by the vengeful spirits of the witches, cursing the land and its inhabitants for eternity. It was said that those who dared to disturb the hallowed grounds would befall a fate worse than death itself. Generations passed, but the cursed legacy persisted. Families whispered tales of ancestors who ventured into the woods, never to return, their fates forever entwined with the malevolent forces lurking in the shadows. Over time, the town's prosperity waned, and its population dwindled as people sought refuge elsewhere. The once vibrant streets fell into disrepair, the abandoned buildings serving as a haunting reminder of the town's tragic past. Despite attempts to bury the town's dark history, the whispers endured, carried on the winds that swept through the ancient woods. Superstitions took root, and the few remaining residents lived in constant fear, wary of awakening the dormant spirits that lay in wait. Ravenswood became a cautionary tale, a place whispered about in hushed tones, its dark history serving as a chilling warning to those who dare to venture near its boundaries. To this day, the dilapidated mansion stood as a grim sentinel, a physical manifestation of the town's cursed legacy, a legacy that continued to cast a long, foreboding shadow over Ravenswood and all who dared to tread upon its haunted grounds. The journey, for adventurous souls: Emma, a spirited writer fascinated by the occult; Jacob, a skeptic with an insatiable curiosity; Sarah, a history enthusiast; and Lucas, a musician with an uncanny fondness for antique instruments, decided to unravel the mysteries veiled within the mansion's walls. Emma, the spirited writer fascinated by the occult, had always been drawn to the unknown. Her fascination stemmed from a childhood encounter with an enigmatic figure she believed to be a spectral presence. However, what she didn't disclose was that she had developed a peculiar ability to sense supernatural energies, gift she kept hidden for fear of being labeled as eccentric. Jacob, the skeptic with an insatiable curiosity, harbored a secret fear of the dark stemming from an unexplained incident in his youth. Despite his skepticism, he carried a talisman, a charm passed down through generations in his family believed to ward off malevolent spirits. He concealed this superstition behind a facade of rationality, refusing to acknowledge his underlying fear of the unknown. Sarah, the history enthusiast, had a lineage traced back to one of the founding families of Ravenswood. She had inherited a mysterious journal passed down through generations, written in an ancient language. Unbeknownst to her companions, she had been secretly deciphering its cryptic contents, uncovering ominous references to an impending reckoning tied to the mansion and its cursed artifacts. Lucas, the musician with an uncanny fondness for antique instruments, possessed an unexplained affinity for communing with spirits through music. His love for antique instruments stemmed from an incident in his past, when a haunting melody had saved him from an otherworldly encounter. Little did his companions know, Lucas had been composing a symphony, a musical offering he believed could placate the malevolent spirits haunting the mansion. Inside the music box. Upon entering the mansion, an eerie atmosphere enveloped them, cobwebs draped the ceilings, and dust danced in the dim light filtering through cracked windows. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding. As they cautiously treaded through the dimly lit corridors of the mansion, shadows danced ominously across the decaying walls. Sarah, the history enthusiast, couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes, and an inexplicable chill lingered in the stale air. Faint whispers seemed to echo from the peeling wallpaper, and the faint scent of decay hung thickly. Their footsteps echoed eerily as they navigated through the mansion's labyrinthine passages, the oppressive silence broken only by the occasional creaking of the ancient floorboards beneath their feet. Emma, the spirited writer fascinated by the occult, felt a peculiar energy tingling in the air, a sensation she couldn't quite decipher. As they ventured deeper into the mansion's shadows, an unsettling awe enveloped them, cobwebs draped like funeral veils, and the walls bore scars of forgotten tragedies. Faint, ghostly apparitions seemed to flit at the edge of their vision, disappearing when looked upon directly. It was in a particularly desolate corner, where the darkness seemed to converge, that Sarah stumbled upon an ancient music box. Its presence felt out of place amidst the decrepit surroundings, adorned with faded carvings depicting twisted figures engaged in a grotesque dance. The once colourful paint had peeled, leaving behind a haunting semblance of joy now marred by time's cruel touch. As Sarah cautiously reached out to inspect the music box, a chilling breeze swept through the room, extinguishing the feeble candlelight. The air turned thick with an inexplicable sense of foreboding, and Jacob, the skeptic, couldn't help but shiver despite his attempts to maintain composure. His scoffing demeanour faltered, replaced by an uneasy silence as the shadows seemed to coil around them, anticipating the unfolding of a malevolent tale hidden within the cursed artifact. Lucas, however, felt an inexplicable pull towards the music box. He traced his fingers along its weathered edges and, with a hesitant hand, wound the rusted key. A haunting melody emerged, a tune so hauntingly beautiful that it sent shivers down their spines. Unbeknownst to them, the music box carried a malevolent curse, a curse bound to the melody it played. The cursed tune, once heard, would haunt the listener until they succumbed to its sinister grip. As Emma lingered near the music box, an inexplicable draw tethered her to its eerie presence. Initially, the haunting melody had merely piqued her curiosity, but soon it became an obsession she couldn't shake. Each night the melody whispered to her, its mournful notes echoing through the mansion's desolate halls, captivating her senses and clouding her thoughts. The end of the story, or not. Unbeknownst to her companions, Emma's fascination with the occult had led her to dabble in forbidden rituals, attempting to commune with spirits. In doing so, she unknowingly opened herself up to the music box's insidious influence, a conduit for the trapped spirit of Victor Darrow. Nightmares plagued her sleep, visions of a tormented figure reaching out from within the music box, pleading for release. Emma found herself consumed by an inexplicable urge to free the trapped soul, convinced that she alone held the key to unraveling the mansion's dark mysteries. Driven by an otherworldly compulsion, Emma's behavior grew erratic. She isolated herself from the group, fixating on the music box, tracing its carvings with trembling fingers. Her once lively demeanor turned hollow, her eyes losing their spark as if a darkness had taken root within her. Sarah, noticing Emma's unsettling transformation, grew increasingly concerned. She attempted to intervene, but Emma's obsession had veiled her in a shroud of secrecy. The music box had ensnared her in its malevolent grip, and she was slipping further into its clutches with each passing day. Meanwhile, the haunting melody that once emanated from the box began to change, distorting into dissonant tones and unnerving whispers that spoke directly into Emma's mind. The entity trapped within the music box seemed to be manipulating her thoughts, pushing her towards a sinister purpose unbeknownst to her companions. As the nights grew darker, Emma's obsession with the music box escalated to a dangerous level. Her once bright spirit now echoed the tortured soul of Victor Darrow, and her companions could only watch in horror as she became an unwitting pawn in the malevolent entity's quest for freedom. Sarah, plagued by a relentless obsession to uncover the music box's origins, delved into the mansion's history. Her research revealed a tragic tale of a tormented musician who, consumed by envy and rage, had crafted the cursed music box as a vessel for his malevolent desires. The tormented musician, known as Victor Darrow, was once hailed as a prodigious talent in Ravenswood during the 18th century. Born into a family of skilled artisans, Victor possessed an innate gift for music that surpassed all others of his time. His melodies had the power to evoke profound emotions, enchanting listeners with their haunting beauty. However, Victor's fame was eclipsed by a fellow musician, a charismatic prodigy named Gabriel Hartman. As Gabriel's popularity soared, envy and resentment festered within Victor's heart, driving him to the brink of madness. Consumed by his jealousy, Victor delved into the darker aspects of the occult, seeking forbidden knowledge to outshine his rival. Legend whispered of Victor's descent into a secluded life, isolating himself within the very mansion that would later become a cursed abode. In a feverish frenzy, he forged a pact with dark entities that promised him unmatched musical prowess in exchange for vessel and object through which malevolence could be channeled. Driven by a feverish obsession to surpass Gabriel's talents, Victor poured his anguish, envy, and rage into crafting the cursed music box. He etched arcane symbols and incantations into its wooden surface, infusing it with a melody that bore the weight of his tortured soul. The haunting tune Victor composed was said to contain his darkest emotions, an echo of his envy and a conduit for the malevolent forces he had summoned. The cursed melody, once played, had the power to manipulate the listener's mind, inflicting torment and despair until their spirit was broken. As Victor completed the music box, its malevolence tainted the mansion and the surrounding lands, trapping his own tormented spirit within its cursed confines. His once melodic compositions turned into ominous dirges that echoed through the halls, sealing his tragic fate within the mansion's walls for eternity. Sarah's relentless pursuit of the truth uncovered Victor Darrow's tragic downfall, revealing how his ambition had led to his own undoing, forever intertwining his fate with the cursed music box and the haunted mansion of Ravenswood. Lucas, the musician with an uncanny fondness for antique instruments, found himself ensnared by the music box's malevolent enchantment in ways he couldn't comprehend. Initially drawn to its haunting melody out of professional curiosity, he soon discovered an inexplicable connection that went beyond mere fascination. The cursed music box seemed to recognize Lucas's affinity for music, weaving its insidious influence into the very fabric of his compositions. His once vibrant melodies gradually transformed into eerie compositions, echoing the haunting tune emanating from the cursed artifact. Each note seemed to resonate with the dark secrets whispered by the cursed melody, manifesting as a haunting symphony of despair and sorrow. Driven by an intense need to unravel the enigma of the music box, Lucas immersed himself deeper into its influence. Night after night, he found himself feverishly playing haunting melodies on his antique instruments, each tune a melancholic echo of the cursed melody that echoed through the mansion. As the cursed music seeped into his mind, Lucas began to experience harrowing visions. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, and spectral whispers tormented his thoughts, beckoning him into the depths of madness. He struggled to maintain his grasp on reality, the boundary between the cursed melodies and his own compositions blurring until they became indistinguishable. The once jovial musician now bore a haunted expression, his eyes clouded with an otherworldly anguish. His companions noticed his distress, but Lucas withdrew into a solitary existence, consumed by the sinister melodies that had hijacked his creative soul. Unbeknownst to the others, Lucas's very being had become a conduit for the cursed music box's malevolence. The dark secrets whispered to him grew louder and more insistent, driving him perilously close to the brink of sanity. His struggle against the cursed melodies intensified, yet the ominous symphony seemed intent on claiming his mind, body, and soul as its own. As days passed, the mansion's oppressive atmosphere grew palpable. Shadows danced menacingly in the corridors, and whispers echoed in the silence. Fear tightened its grip on the group as they realized the malevolent force unleashed by the music box was far beyond their control. Jacob, the skeptic turned believer, scrambled to find a way to break the curse. But time was running out, and the cursed melody had already ensnared them all in its chilling embrace. As the anguished cries reverberated through the mansion's desolate corridors, a sinister metamorphosis unfolded within the twisted depths of the cursed melody. The haunting tune, having fractured their minds, began to merge their tormented souls into a nightmarish chorus, an amalgamation of suffering and despair. Emma, once spirited and curious, now stood at the epicenter of the mansion, her body swaying rhythmically to the cursed melody's harrowing cadence. Eyes, once filled with vibrancy, now reflected an abyss of torment as she hummed in perfect unison with the cursed symphony. Sarah, consumed by her obsession to decipher the mansion's secrets, traced cryptic symbols upon the walls, her whispers interweaving with the haunting melody, echoing through the dilapidated halls. Lost in a trance, she etched the very verses of her family's cursed legacy, unwittingly sealing their entrapment within the mansion's malevolent embrace. Lucas, once a beacon of musical joy, now sat in a desolate chamber, surrounded by antique instruments. His fingers danced feverishly across the strings, producing an eerie harmony that harmonized with the cursed tune. His expression bore witness to a struggle between his soul and the malevolent force that commandeered his musical prowess. Their collective torment crescendoed into a haunting crescendo, the walls of the mansion pulsating with an otherworldly energy, shadows danced wildly, and ethereal voices wailed in an unholy chorus that transcended the realms of the living. As the symphony of despair reached its zenith, an eldritch vortex materialized in the heart of the mansion. Within its swirling maelstrom, the spirits of the cursed musician Victor Darrow and his malevolent creation converged, merging with the fragmented souls of Emma, Sarah, and Lucas. In a nightmarish fusion of past and present, the cursed spirits melded with the tormented souls of the explorers, weaving them into a grotesque tapestry of eternal suffering. Their anguished wails melded seamlessly into the haunting melody, etching an unending saga of despair upon the walls of the mansion, ensuring their imprisonment within its cursed confines for all eternity.